We are back on MorningLine, our final segment this morning. The number is 737-7587. We're not getting a lot of calls because it's a heavy topic first thing on a Monday, but I imagine a lot of people are listening and paying attention to just how big a problem this is. Our kids, of course, involved with this, Metro Police Department involved with the process along the lines. I guess I just want to hit on final points in this last segment that we want to make sure people understand. And there's prosecution for this, but there's a lot of help out there.
Yes.
Call and don't sit on it. It's your responsibility legally even to report any kind of child abuse, correct?
Correct. And from time to time, I mean, quite often we will get phone calls from concerned family members or even pediatricians who are like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if this reaches the threshold of making a report. And the clinical team members at our kids are available to field those calls.
Yeah. So they'll call teachers too, I bet.
Yes.
And when they see something like this, they're just not sure. And you said that you guys got together and did some training and learned from the PD, right?
Yes.
So now what are we talking about? What kind of things were they talking to you?
So Rob and Mike were talking about keeping kids safe online. So really helping us build this piece of collateral, which is wonderful, which is on our website, ourkidscenter.com. And it really talks about, the whole issue of, control the password, passwords, check your child's phone, erratically and say, this is not your phone, this is my phone, I'm allowing you to use it. I think a really great idea that you had was all of the devices need to be in a central or a docking station that are being charged at night. They don't need to be in the child's room, because it's so hard for children and for teenagers to unplug, and they're on all the time, and that's not good either.
My partner does it great. When he does the presentations, he'll ask them how many people have a computer in their child's room, and no one in the room will raise their hand. He goes, how many people have their children's cell phones in their room? And 90% of the parents will raise their hand. He goes, your cell phone has more computing power than the computer I have on my desk.
Yeah.
Right.
So why would you want to leave that for them to have access to all the way through the night?
People don't think about that. Yeah,
right.
It's every bit as powerful. Smartphones, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's on there that you need. You can get access to anything these days. And I guess I like the idea of just grabbing the phone every once in a while and taking a look at it. It's mine.
I did it 2 days ago to my son.
Did you? So how old is he?
I got a 14-year-old and I got an 8-year-old. My 8-year-old's not as difficult to track, but the 14-year-old's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, so I mean, because of what you think you're harder on him than other kids?
Yeah.
Because you see it, and we should all follow your example.
But he's known from day one. It's not anything new I'm doing. He's known from the very start that, hey, you can have this phone, but the password has to remain where I know it, and I have to be able to access it when I want. And there's been a few times that we've had chats on stuff. I've found him nothing crazy but stuff like, let's talk about this.
Or you can see some of the chit chat with his friends or whatever along those lines.
We have Apple phones. You have your iTunes accounts, and in order to buy any new apps or to make any purchases, it goes through my account, and they don't know the password for it. So if I'll get an email saying, hey, somebody on your account wants to get this app, I have to enter the password for that to go through. So they're not able to get anything on their phones it doesn't run through me first.
Isn't that great? And I think that for those in the viewing community where your child doesn't have a phone yet, or you've just given them a phone, start out like you can hold out. Go ahead and be tough at the beginning, reasonable and tough and consistent, and I think it sends a great message. It's not the 11-year-old or even the 13-year-old's phone. It's your phone that you're allowing them to use.
Yep, and the window of the age where they're most at risk, I mean, I guess once they get the phone, they're all at risk, but I'm just saying, I feel more comfortable with my son now at 16, even though I know he could still be at risk than he was when he was 13, where he was just
We're seeing much younger and younger.
That's what I was going to say, they're getting younger.
Smartphones being more accessible, and what used to be in 7th and 8th grade when they were about 13, you'd start to get phones. Now we're seeing 9 and 10-year-olds getting phones.
Why does a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old need a smartphone? That's a whole parenting issue.
No.
I understand sometimes
really
communication. Get them a flip phone or something.
I waited until mine was 13.
Yeah, I was going to say waiting, but I know a lot of kids much younger that have, these expensive, powerful smartphones.
I was 36 when I got mine.
I was older.
I didn't have any of those, but I mean, they're getting younger and younger now. So I think if someone at 8, that's probably the most at risk because it's like, very trusting.
But you touched on it earlier. The gaming sites all have a chat service in there, and our suspects know where to target where the kids are going to be. They don't go to the malls anymore because the kids aren't at the mall. They're online in these little game rooms, and it's reminding your kids that stuff's out there and kind of monitoring and keeping track of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up again because it's not just the phone. I didn't. See, again, I'm a dummy, and I wasn't sure about how they could link like this. I know he plays with his friends locally. Yeah. They can hook up down the road, his neighbor, and he can, and they're not in the same room. But he can link up with someone, like I said, in Japan or any place else like that. I'm like, really? There's some dude out there that you're playing with right now actively that's online in someone's basement in Japan. He goes, yeah.
A lot of it's just building the relationship between parents and the kids so that the kids trust that when something happens, I can approach mom, and she's not going to just blow her gasket and completely freak, because it's not the kid's fault necessarily that somebody's targeting them. You need to have that open line of communication so that they're able to come to you and not feel like you're going to cut everything off because of one incident, but that you're monitoring and you're protecting them.
Exactly. That's it.
Exactly.
I'm going to take the Tammy. She just called. Tam, do you mind if we take a call?
Sure.
I know you were hoping that you'd have the show all to yourself soon. But no, we're going to take. Good morning, Tammy.
Hey.
Hey, go ahead.
I've got a comment or possibly a question about the smartphones.
Yeah.
Most kids are smarter than the adults about using those smartphones. I would love to see some sort of classes opened up, like all over the state, for adults to make them more savvy on the smartphone than the kids are, because that's where a lot of times the kids can get this information and hide it from their parents, which, I would be one of those. I don't have a child that's of that age at this time, but if I did, I'm sure that child would know a whole lot more about that smartphone than I do. So that's just a comment that I've got.
That's a great comment. I'd sign up for that class, and I know what she's saying.
And I have a response to that. I think that's a great comment. One of our social workers at our kids, her daughter goes to a magnet middle school, and I've forgotten the name of it, but they're going to have this like technology sort of marketplace, and it's for the adults to learn, and it's got stuff for kids too, but it's for the adults to see and just to get some tips and how to work different apps and all that stuff. So I think other people feel the same way Tammy does.
Yep. Well, I think kids love to show off. So I mean, I can ask my 8-year-old, hey, show me how this thing works, and he loves to be the big shot.
You are so right. I was going to say the same thing. You ask your kid, and they love it, right? They'll share it with you. He's kind of showing off, right? Because they know it, and they're telling dad something. But yeah, they're pretty open. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to show you something they want to keep secret, though, right?
Not necessarily, but they can. If you have a question on how a certain app works or a certain site, they're thrilled to be able to act the big shot and show something that you don't know.
Yeah.
And granted, I say my 8-year-old, he doesn't have as much access to. He doesn't have a cell phone. He's got a iPod and he can play games and stuff on it. But I still monitor his stuff as well and control it. My 14-year-old's got a little bit more access. I'm just curious, as things evolve and we see the ante being upped in terms of what's being used on Facebook Live and all this awful stuff and some of these recent criminal, what is there anything else disturbing on the horizon? What's next? Okay, we understand the act and the abuse is the same type of horrible stuff, but what next? I mean, Facebook Live, things broadcasting live. Anything else that you've seen? Maybe what's new? The technology keeps improving. For us, the cloud storage has been the biggest. That's new. When you everything's off-site and it's harder to track. We're moving more and more to that. And after Eric Snowden came forward from the NSA. A lot of the internet providers and stuff don't want to look like they're in the back pocket of the police, so they've made it a little bit more difficult for us to work with some of those providers. They'll do automatic notifications to the suspect we're looking at. If we send a subpoena or a search warrant, they'll let the people know we're looking for them unless we get a judge's order to tell them not to. Some of that stuff makes it harder and harder, and we're just going to see more and more of that because none of these companies for their consumers, they don't want to look like they're working hand in hand with the police and spying on people.
Well, they want privacy issues, which you understand for the consumers, but you would think you'd be able to separate it if law enforcement says they're going after a child abuser. You know, that's what I don't get.
And most of them are good with this.
I'm all for privacy and protecting everyone's, but for things like this, I can't believe you can't make a change to specifically, you know, in the court order. We're doing this not because we're going after just one of your basic customers that's obeying the law. We're going after someone we have reason to believe is going after children.
And I will say most of the providers will prioritize our stuff because it's involving children and sex abuse and potential exploitation. So they'll prioritize. If I send them something, our stuff bumps to the front of the list to get. We'll get our responses back normally within a couple weeks versus few months if you're investigating some other more minor crime.
Okay. As for our kids, any big fundraisers coming up? If not, talk about how people can send donations to a fantastic cause.
Well, you can go on ourkidscenter.com, and there is a tab to donate.
There's the website.
Yes, and I will say this: just, you know, have the courage to educate yourself about child sexual abuse. That's the best way that you can stand tall for every child, because if 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 7 boys is going to have an experience of some level of child sexual abuse before the age of 18, I think we can safely say that every child is potentially vulnerable. And it's up to us to have the courage to not do this, but to educate ourselves, so if a child in your life comes forward, you'll know what to do. And really, it's about creating a culture in your family where it's okay to come to me with anything that scares you or confuses you. It's okay, we're on the same team. And I think that that's a huge message. The other thing is, believe and protect your child. And, you know, our message to the child, to our patients, is this is not your fault. You've done nothing wrong.
Right.
And, you know, and to the caregiver, believe and protect your child. It takes courage. It takes courage for the child to come forward and disclose what happened. That's really hard.
Yeah.
The least we can do is educate ourselves so that we can be useful and helpful. And because if we can't prevent child sexual abuse unless we understand the issue, and we face it and we acknowledge it.
Well, and I guarantee you there's people watching right now that maybe for whatever reason say, well, yeah, that's great. Not in my family, not in mine. And like I said, there's cases that we've all seen where the loved ones had absolutely no idea what was going on. Zilch, nada. So do what she says and at least prepare yourself, because sadly, you never know. And the odds are there's probably someone in your family, in your long, wide open family, that has feelings this way. I'm serious. I hate to say it, but we're talking 1 in 4 females being touched. That means, you know, I mean, they're everywhere.
Our kids' site's great. They offer a lot of options and lots of resources. I'd recommend going to that.
Okay, and I think I want to, well, go ahead.
One more thing, and this is what Lori Myers from Nashville Children's Alliance once said to me a couple of weeks ago: safe adults don't ask children to keep secrets. Safe adults don't ask children to keep secrets. I think that's a great,
exactly. Keep
rule.
that in mind. Hey, and as far as the number, we've got the toll-free number for report child abuse in Tennessee. There it is on the screen. We've got that. We'll put it up again, but it's 1-877-237-0004. I assume that's like man, woman, 24 hours, right?
Yes.
And so they'll take calls and like that. Rob, as always, a pleasure. You had to put up with these two and me, but you're always, he's very, very cordial, is he not?
He's a superhero. I'm telling
Jill,
you.
Sue, thank you both. Great job over at Our Kids and great with Metro, you guys. Fantastic
Thank you
job.
for having us.
I'll take a break anytime. I'll have that number for you and the website as soon as we come back. Stay with us. Thanks, you guys.
You're the superhero.
Jill.